What's up, YouTube? So welcome back to another breakdown from our panel forum on bull snakes and gopher snakes. If you missed the first one, you can check that video here. Also like and subscribe to this channel. That'll help you find these videos as they come out, right? So we sat down with Lou Boyer, Glen Brooks, and Jason Nelson to discuss bull snakes and gopher snakes. I asked them to talk about ball pythons and what got the industry going with that, and then also to discuss some of the more popular bull snake and gopher snake morphs and kind of what's the deal with that in the market. So they had some really interesting perspectives on breeding snakes in general, but also some pretty exciting stuff about where they see the morph market for bull snakes going in the future. Check it out. And then I'd love to get everyone's opinion on these too. So I want to talk ball pythons, and I think I want to talk ball pythons with just about everybody for a lot of reasons. Like them or love them, I think it's foolish to ignore the impact they've had on the herb keeping community. So just starting with you, Lou, what's your opinion on them, and what do you think we can learn from them, and how they've been around for decades?
Yeah, it's funny. I don't go to many reptile shows. I went to one last year, and I think I made a video from it. But I was shocked, to be honest, at how many ball pythons there were. Like I guess I don't know. I was out of the loop, I guess. I didn't know like that was the go-to snake for anybody who wants to buy a snake or people who sell snakes. Now, there are some really cool looking ones out there. I give them that. You know, I mean, it's I don't know. So I have two sides of it. Like as far as just snakes in general, I sort of like the snake the way it is out in nature and the way it looks naturally.
Yeah.
But then also drawn to the really weird looking morphs that people have come up with, and I'm like, you know, damn, that looks pretty damn cool, you know, type thing. So, you know, I don't know. I'd love to see a ball python out in the wild. For me, that would be cool to see one at a reptile expo. I just sort of, as bad as it sounds, I sort of just kind of walk by those and keep going to something else. And no disrespect to the people who have them. I think they're awesome. They're probably a perfect size snake, and they, you know, obviously they're popular for a reason, but maybe because they're so popular, that's the reason I sort of shy away from them. That makes sense. I don't know.
Yeah, I get that. Glenn, what do you think? And is there something we could learn from, you know, where that's taken the industry and what people do as they breed them?
I think one thing we can learn is that you had a lot of guys who got into ball pythons answering that question we just answered about, I'm going to quit my job and breed these $40,000 ball pythons. And by the time they got their babies to adults, they were selling for $3,000. And I think we could learn something from that. There is not an unlimited number of customers out there for snakes. You guys probably know a couple of people who don't like snakes. I know a few.
Right.
And so we sometimes we act as if we make them, people will come. But that is not an unlimited supply, and ball pythons have kind of shown us that, where, I mean, you can get them in every color imaginable, every pattern. And to me, I mean, you have to really be a ball python guy to go, oh my gosh, look at that. And I'm like, more ball pythons, more ball pythons. And this from a guy who got into snakes, essentially, snake breeding anyway, with ball pythons.
Mm-hmm.
The first snake I ever had as a pet, other than ones I caught as a little kid, I remember the pet store person putting it in my hand, and it was a little baby ball python rolled up in a ball. And I remember shaking as I held it because it was a snake.
Yeah.
And so I raised that guy up, and this was before there was a morph for ball pythons. And I raised that guy up. I loved him. He was a fun snake. I ended up buying a female from the classified ads in the back of the newspaper, because that was the only way you could buy them back then. And bred those together. It was my first breeding success, and I was hooked from there on out. But yeah, the whole ball python craze, I think, has kind of gone awry. and just kind of people pursuing money, and it kind of got out of whack. And it's almost like it's a whole different world, different market, different world, different thinking about what something's worth.
Mm-hmm.
And it's coming back to earth, but I think we can learn that we got to be careful about those kinds of things, that people need to not be putting a second mortgage on their home so they can buy the latest Morph, because that's going to make them a millionaire.
Yeah, great input. Jason, what do you think?
They're neat animals. I'll never own one. When you're dealing with snakes that are thousands and thousands of dollars and they don't breed for you, it's a business. That's a business when you're dealing with those expensive animals. I can't imagine it being fun when you're stressing out because you just lost a $30,000 clutch of eggs or whatever. I kind of think that those people are just, yes, I make money off snakes. I do. I just think when you're dealing with those high dollar stuff, it's not as fun. It can be probably when you make a lot of money. But if you don't, you're probably hurting. And especially if you put a second mortgage on your home. I kind of feel like hognose are the colubrids of ball pythons. They're the same way. And I see the way a lot, I'm not singling anybody out or per se, but I just think that they push those animals. I've seen the temperatures they keep them at. They feed them every 3 days. They weigh them. They have all the, I don't know. I think some of that is a little bit of abusive to animals when you're breeding an animal at 18 months old. And, I don't know. I'm a little turned off by that, but no, nothing against anybody that has ball pythons. I have many friends that are ball python keepers and breeders, but it's just not my thing.
Yeah, it's basically an approach to treating the animals like livestock.
Right.
Yes, agreed.
And I think that's a great point, and I want to keep it moving. Absolutely, if someone is considering getting into it and breeding and stuff, there's a way that works, and there's a right way to do it, and you kind of have to decide what it is that you're going to pursue. And thank you guys for mentioning that, because I think the reason why we all got into these animals is because we like animals. At some point, even if it is your business and they are inventory, kind of have to remember that those inventories also have lives, and hopefully some people put some value to that. So thank you, Jason and Glenn, for both bringing that up. Yeah.
I only keep snakes I like. I don't have, this snake's really worth a lot of money, so I'm going to get into it. That's not how I work. Everything I keep is because I like it. And it's just funny now that bull snakes are probably, if not the most popular snake, right up there, 2 or 3. And I was working with them long before then, and I keep them because I love them. That's where I'm at.
Awesome. And so we'll stay with you, Jason. Let's discuss bull snake and gopher snake morphs. What's on the horizon for these snakes? Is it all about, and tell us like what consists of morphs too. I mean, you don't have to break down each one, but is it all about, what do you think is most popular? Is it all about color? Do people look for patterns? Do they want lineage? What is it that is trendy?
Right now, anything patternless is pretty trendy. Anything with exanthic is pretty popular. Albino patternless bull snakes, man, I wish I could produce a couple hundred of those things, but I only produce, handful. But people are not, whatever reason, they're beautiful too. But that's a big craze. I'm always working on something, and every year, you think that you're going to run out of stuff to create, but I keep finding new things. I got the wheels turning on a bunch of stuff, so I'm looking forward to the next few years on that. But I'm always looking. What's
on the horizon? Is there anything you can share, or any sort of targets or anything that you're thinking either
Well,
specifically or broadly?
I've been working on this for a long time, and I'm going to switch gears a little bit on the project. I was trying to I have yellow bulls that are bright yellow. They stay yellow even into adulthood. And it's not it's not a recessive gene, it's a line bred trait.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to make yellow patternless. Well, the patternless gene kind of muddies up a little bit. So now they're just not as vibrant as I was hoping they would be. So now I'm just adding hypo to bring that around. And then the one I kicked off this year, I just broke ground on it, was I bred a Kankakee to a yellow. And the yellow is pretty reliable. It comes through first generation, but it's the second generation that's gonna pop. So I'm gonna call them bumblebees. They're gonna be black and yellow bulls, and I think they're gonna be not crazy expensive, but they're gonna be super vibrant, and I think they'll do well in the market.
That's awesome. That sounds cool. Glenn, what about you? What do you think is what's up with bull snake morphs?
Jason's the man with all of that. It just made me think back when he was talking about how he loved pits before they were popular. And I remember going back to your old NV website years ago and looking and thinking, these snakes are so cool. Why does no one keep them? There must be something, there's something wrong with them. They're really mean, or they're hard to care for, and I couldn't figure out why they weren't more popular. I ended up getting some, and then I was even more amazed they weren't more popular. And then after I've had them for a while, they suddenly became popular. And it's one of the things Jason says, keep animals you love. And animals that you love, there's a reason you love them. They make good captives generally. Those animals will keep coming around in the market. People will keep coming back to good animals. It's the ones that are, oh, this is the latest, greatest thing, but they're really hard to keep alive. Those will go away and won't come back. But things that people really like, they just keep coming back, and the price may drop for a few years and come back. The one thing I think that is missed in most of the market that is focused on morphs, I believe it's true of ball pythons, I know it's true of corn snakes, and I believe it's also true of pits, and that is people seem to be too focused on the genetic morphs and not focused enough on the quality of the look of the animal. And that's the line breeding element that Jason brought up. So you can have two snakes with the exact same genetics. One looks fantastic and one looks like trash. And they're the same price.
Define what you mean by looks like trash.
Well, it is beauty in the eye of the beholder, but I'll describe it this way. One will be high contrast, sharp colors. The other will be dull and blurry and not distinct. It just doesn't, or it may not have as much color, but they're all the same genetics, but they're different qualities of animal. And I think people don't look at the quality of their animals. And that's why when I got stuff from Jason, he told me about, this is the background of this one, this is what the parents look like. And so I got quality animals, and then I produced quality animals. And then out of my quality animals, probably 7 out of 10 are quality. And then 3 are like, they still have good genetics because they came from good animals, but I wouldn't buy them.
and those the ones you're talking about that aren't high quality, they can produce high quality still, though.
Yeah,
they still can.
But it just surprises me how much people don't pay attention to the quality. It's like, I can get that same genetics over here for this much. And you look at the animal, it's like, is that even the same kind of animal?
Right.
And so I think the line breeding element of morphs is something that's been ignored for a long time. I've got morphs that are these genetics, but it looks like this, as opposed to I just have these genetics. And so I do think that that's going to have more of an impact, because we're kind of, in many ways, I think we're kind of morphed out. It's like, yeah, there's a lot of morphs. They have a lot of different looks. Not that we're not going to discover more. I just mean, I don't know, any of the ball python morphs. I don't know half of the corn snake morphs. There's just so many of them. So somebody tells me it's a this, a this, a this, a this, and I'm like, I don't care. What's it look like?
Yeah.
And so I think there's going to be a little bit of a more, I'm trying to produce these genetics that look this way. And so it's almost the cross of morphs line bred.
Awesome. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you like this video, go ahead and like, subscribe, and share this video. It really helps the channel out and helps us get more panels just like this. If you got an idea for a future panel, go ahead and leave it in the comments too. Love to hear about it. Anyways, I'll see you next time.